Lucky Lefty Podcast. What's good? The Onora boys are in the building. Brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. It is that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, make sure that you do so
responsible.
You got to do it responsibly. Great show today, Left. Great show today. We're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh and why him going back to Michigan doesn't do a damn thing. Doesn't move the needle at all. We're going to break it down, right? Then we're going to talk about a young man from California who is the poster child for NIL versus pay to play. You watched this young man play in high school. Depending upon the rankings, he might be ranked somewhere from the 5th to the 8th best quarterback in the 2023 class. The Athletic released a story on the full breakdown of what happened between Jaden Rashada and the University of Florida. This is going to shock you, Left. This is going to shock you, Left.
A lot.
Yo, this is going to shock you, Left. When we go over some of the things they found out about, now you start to understand why this NIL thing may begin to crumble, and it might not have to do anything with what the NCAA does. It might be because these schools just can't back up what they tell these young men or these young women. We'll talk about that as well. You know what I watched last night? I hope someone at Notre Dame was watching that game last night and they took time to focus on Zach Martin against Vita Vea. Because what you saw was a dominant, technical, leveraging performance by the best offensive lineman in all of the NFL. Flat out. Harry Heastand and that staff should take that tape from last night, bottle it up, and send it to every offensive lineman prospect in the 24 and 25 class. And say, if you want to play like this on the next level, come see me. Come see me. Because it was a clinic, a flat-out clinic. I think Vita Vea early in the game had one power rush that was effective. And then after that, stonewall.
Dak had a lot of time yesterday.
All day. All day.
But it was interesting. They didn't run the ball that well.
You know what, bro? Zeke is done, bro.
Oh, my God.
Let me tell you why Zeke is done. I saw at least 2 or 3 plays where old Zeke would have bounced the ball to the outside and been gone for at least 10 yards. Minimum. Zeke is just to the point now where he's accepted the role of being the power inside guy. And just in his mind, he's just like, man, let me go get these 3-4 yards on the inside. That ability to bounce in and out of holes, accelerate to the outside and make it a 10, 15-yard game, we rarely see that from Zeke anymore, bro. Now, I know what, dude, the life of an NFL running back is just short, bro. It's short. And I'm not saying he's incapable of doing it in a big spot or mustering up an all-time performance. But what I am saying is that consistent 115 to 130 yards every week, that Zeke is gone. That Zeke, it's a wrap for that Zeke. Nah, he's not coming back.
I don't know. Christian McCaffrey went from the worst team to looking like the best athlete in NFL. So maybe it's just a matter of where you go. If Zeke was in the Niners, maybe his career wouldn't look the same.
Dude, he plays behind one of the best offensive lines in football. I could no, stop. Come on, man. Then Tony Pollard looks just fine running behind that line.
They didn't run great last night.
They didn't run it great last night, but I'm just saying I've seen plenty of games where Tony Pollard looks fantastic.
No, Tony Pollard's good. Yeah, Tony Pollard's good for sure. For sure. He's not Zeke though.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Any thoughts? First of all, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content, State of Recruiting with John Garcia Jr., us, you already know. We gave you a late show last night. You guys supported us. You continue to support us. Already 3 downloads of yesterday's show. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast. We spin it different. Early bird gets the worm. Yesterday we talked about Junior Day, but something else happened this weekend. We had a number of early enrollees come to campus, sit in front of their locker, register for classes, and they're getting ready to get a first-hand experience with Matt Balis. We'll talk about that as well. Tom Brady left. It's about that time.
I don't know. I think he's got one more year. I think he needs to be in a little bit more of a better situation. I think that sometimes, you get in a position where, you might have just spent the time that you were supposed to spend there. 3 years, championship. Nobody thought you could do it for a program or organization that hasn't won one in a long time, looked down upon for a long time. You made it relevant again.
Yeah.
I think his time there is just ended from just you've been there, you've done what you're supposed to do. I think he has another opportunity provided he matches with the right coach. Sean Payton can give him 2 more years just because of how great Sean Payton is and the position he'll put Tom in to be successful. But I think Tom still has some talent. Obviously, last night, the Dallas got to him, had him a little gun shy. But then again, when you throw in a bunch of old guys and guys who can't get open, Chris Godwin looked hurt the whole game. Every time he caught the ball, every hit he took, it was like, man, it took a chunk out of his whole playing career the way he was getting hit. So, he's still throwing the ball 30-plus times a game. I think he can still continue to be effective, with the right coaching situation. I think he's at that stage where he can do it, but a lot of pieces have to be in place, but the right coaching has to be in place as well. I think that's why I wanted to go to the Niners.
It's interesting. You go to the other side. I was happy to see the good Dak show up, especially coming off of that performance and the last regular season game against the Washington Commanders. I'm glad he showed up.
Remember, he had the last one of his best games ever against Tom Brady at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he just against Tom Brady, he's gonna have really good games. He's got that Eli Manning effect going.
Yeah, you're right. And you're not talking about the game that opened this season. Talking about the previous season when they were in Tampa Bay. They went back and forth. That was a great game to open the season. Lucky Lefty podcast. I want to talk about something that jumped out to me from that game. And I don't know if anybody else felt the same way. I think the Hamlin situation has made me a little bit more sensitive. And I think late in the third quarter,
Russell Gage
gets hit, and you see like his legs are like kind of like shaking on the ground when he hits the ground, and I'm like, oh no! Like immediately, I'm like, come on, no, not again! Like please, we can't go through anything like this again on Monday Night Football. And I was just happy to see him moving his extremities immediately. It was a pretty good joke and hit to the back of his head that jarred his neck. And I was sensitive to it, like, man, but I was glad to see everything was cool. I wonder if anybody else kind of reacted to it like that, because I think for me now, I pay a little bit more attention to things on the football field than I did. Because I used to just take things for granted, bro. Like the game is the game.
The game is still the game.
Oh, absolutely. You played the game. I didn't. So for me to even think the game was a game, I was so desensitized to it that now I'm taking a step back. And it's like when I see things, like immediately I have the thought, man, I hope he's okay. Rather than, oh, you straight. You know what I'm saying? It's like, instead of just being like, oh, he'll be all right. Like, man, now my thoughts are, man, I really hope he's okay.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's like if you had a toilet issue at your house, right?
Yeah.
And you hire a plumber to come over, right?
Not the plumber from Martin, though.
Not the plumber from Martin.
No.
The plumber comes over because you paid him to do a job. Now, this plumber may be going through a lot of things at home. Maybe have a heart issue. Maybe he's on the verge of diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And you care a lot. But you care more about that toilet being fixed.
Facts.
And if he don't fix that toilet and starts telling you, oh, I got diabetes and my neck hurt, and you have a certain level of empathy, but you still like, man, I need my toilet fixed. So it's a certain level of how much can you really care when it even comes to a different job title. I mean, these guys are getting paid to do a job.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we care that you're a human being and all that. It's a job. So you're going to get criticized because of it. If this was, against your will, then yeah, we should be all about mental health and all of this. But it's a job. You're not asking the plumber about his mental health when he's fixing your toilet.
No, I'm not asking about anybody's mental health. I'm just saying
I'm just saying as a we're so empathetic towards all these things that these guys are going through. And I'm like, yeah, from a human aspect, we all are important in that aspect, but it's still a job, Even a DeMar situation, he's only getting paid $100-some thousand. Now, I mean, you would have thought he was a war hero the way they treat this situation.
Well, I mean, he can't control how people react to a situation.
The media,
or how the media wants to take advantage of the situation.
The media is taking advantage of the situation.
So that's totally different from fans, not taking things for granted and having a little bit more respect and empathy for what it is that football players do and what they really sacrifice. To me, I think fans have taken a step forward and now are a little bit more empathetic and a lot less desensitized to the game than they were, based upon what was seen with the Hamlin situation. I'm not saying everybody was like that. I give a great example, bro. Like you ever walk into the restaurant and you walk up to order something, and whomever's standing at the register has an attitude and they're snapping off and they're cussing and talking about how terrible that I don't care, I don't give it, man. I'm ready to give this my. You know what? No, don't even take my order. I'm good. Let me go to the other line. Yeah, let me go to the other line because you are impacting how I feel like I'm about to get served. Nah, I'm good. Or if you have a barber and you feel like your barber is talking too much, it's like, come on, man.
You say something?
Yeah. Or either fake go to sleep. There's one of the two options.
Yeah.
Either you say something or you fake go to sleep.
Okay.
Right. And if they still just stop, my problem is as long as the clippers keep going and you're talking, it's good.
Cool. It's cool.
When you cut the clippers off,
it's click and you
right, and you turn to the next dude next to you, or you talking to somebody sitting down waiting on a cut, now we have a problem, my man. Because now you're affecting the service. Now you're affecting the service.
You're affecting the service.
So, and for me, things like that affect the way that fans receive the game and the way they're served. And now I think there's a lot more love for athletes, in my opinion, that should go out. And everybody probably doesn't feel the same way. But I know I'm more empathetic to joints, right? Because some fans just like get them off the field. Let's go. It's been 5 minutes. Like, man, let's get the game going. There's some fans that literally could care less and just feel like, hey, you're getting paid millions. You'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a part of the game. You can't make that type of game any safer. You don't have to play the game. It's just like wrestling. If one of the wrestlers got Batista bomb through the steel cage, that's the profession.
Facts.
If he get hurt, that's what he signed up for. And so, yeah, as a fan in the moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. Because I could never do that. That's why I ain't no professional wrestler. And I just think it's like stuntman. You know how many stuntmen die on the set and they still shoot the movie?
Dude, that's why Ric Flair is the greatest, right?
They still shoot the movie and the stuntman die all the time.
All the time.
You don't see them saying, "Oh, this movie's for the
If
stuntman
you do
that
your
died."
research, the insurance policies that the stuntmen have in Hollywood, the family's taking they
Yeah, they get good,
fam,
but he
family's all
died.
right.
But he
Yeah,
died,
but the bigger picture has to go on, and
and
no
it's
one
so
no
different
one
than football.
no one is disputing the bigger picture, right? What I'm saying is, I'm sure they take the day off from filming when somebody dies on the set. I'm sure they're not like, all right, come scoop them up, and we're just gonna keep going. No, let's pause. We're gonna pause production for today. Let everybody kind of like get themselves together, and then we'll come back in a day or two and start filming again. Like, come on, there's a point where you have to be a human. That's all I'm saying. That's it. I don't care how you view it or what side of the coin you're on. At some point, you should be able to be a human. And last night, I'm just saying, my humanity jumped up for a second when I thought the young man was on the field, you know, in a seizure,
Yeah, he
was
got
what it looked
clapped.
like,
He got clapped.
and it was like, yo, so it's
And I think
crazy.
the cameras these days, they play it in slow motion, and the dude get
Now, see, that's something
jacked.
they need to stop doing. They need to stop doing.
Yeah,
Stop showing the
because I'm
replays all
telling
over
you,
and over again. Yeah,
the
yeah,
hits before these new rules were football would have been canceled 60 years ago if they had the cameras they
yeah. Hey,
have
bro.
now.
Hey, bro.
If they had the cameras they had now, where they show slow motion dude just clothesline a dude or something,
Man,
that's why I'm like, it didn't get canceled then, and it's way less now. So it's like, man, I just, I don't understand. I don't understand.
man. Like they say on the wire, the game is the game.
The game is man. You see some of them. I'm talking about late hits.
The game
The
is
hits
the
on the.
game.
If the hits was what they was doing on the quarterbacks now, like they were in like the 60s, 70s, people would be like, these guys should be arrested. They say these guys should press charges.
Yeah.
They'd be bigger than the Devontae Adams pushing the dude over. They'd be like, man, this man should go to jail. So it's like, oh man, that's what I'm saying. Them cameras, man, make everything look 30 times. See a dude get and his helmet go sideways and his face all over here. It's like, man, you play in slow motion.
Yeah. 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 And you know what else reared its ugly head, bro? As much as the money in the business made sense to basically capitalize on the entire weekend for wild card weekend and culminating on Monday Night Football, you really put the Cowboys at a disadvantage, only having 5 days to prepare. Versus, at least you should have put San Francisco on
Or Sunday night.
Sunday night, to make it a little bit more even. Now the Cowboys only have 5 days to where the 49ers have 7 days. But once they snap the ball,
Don't even matter.
man, none of that matters because I'm sure if you're out there, all the players are going to be able to play, man. Jim Harbaugh makes this announcement yesterday that he's coming back to Michigan. Here's why it doesn't mean a darn thing. Right. And I really wanted to get on Twitter and tell all the Michigan fans that were going crazy. Like, man, shut up. Like, nothing's changed. Let me tell you why nothing's changed. Styles make fights. Let me give you a little history, Lee. There was this dude back in the day named Smoking Joe Frazier. Left-handed from Philly. Had a little peekaboo style with a great left hook. Right? And he was unorthodox when he used to come in because you couldn't really time when he was going to throw the. And the crazy thing about him throwing the left hook is that it was powerful. He could knock you out with it. You couldn't time it. So for a defensive fighter, you might have heard of this guy, like Muhammad Ali. It was difficult. But Left, I'm gonna let you go ahead and give your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh coming back to Michigan.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's that big of a deal because, like you said, it's about styles. The way they build their team at Michigan, a very physical run, play action, strong defensive front seven, get after the quarterback. I think it's a good style that can take you far. But what we've seen about these championship games, they're unorthodox in themselves to where you really have to have some part of a dynamic X factor that supersedes just the regular game plan, because the team that you're usually going to be playing nowadays in the championship game, not just the playoffs, is one of these super Avengers, Fantastic Four type of teams, especially defensively. So it needs to come from that quarterback position to complement or supplement what you're seeing in a fantastic run game that I do believe we have. For us to have a fantastic run game and go 8-4, where I think arguably we've become one of the better run teams in the country towards the end of the season, you're like, what's that missing piece that get us those 4 games better? And I think we've addressed it in the offseason with Tyler Buckner being a healthy Tyler Buckner and also Sam Hartman as a transfer. But for Michigan's sakes, how much can JJ McCarthy develop and going from 2 back-to-back playoff seasons, going into his 3rd year, another playoff opportunity as a second-year starter? That's going to be the difference. That's what needs to be changing and needs to be making an announcement on how that's developing, because that's going to take the team to those 1 or 2 games better to win the championship. And I think a lot of it is that Jim Harbaugh coming back can only do so much. I mean, we've seen him in coaching situations, been better over the years, get over that Ohio State hump, kind of got their thumb on Ohio State. He's figured that identity out. Because of the style of the Big Ten, he's dominating that style. The Big Ten is going to have to adjust to what Jim Harbaugh is doing now. But Jim Harbaugh is sitting in the catbird seat, and that's not going to change. But when it comes to winning championships, that quarterback position has got to be elevated. I think J.J. McCarthy, having so much experience in those first 2 years, going back-to-back playoffs and coming into his 3rd year saying they'll be back, it's not going to change too much because the run game's going to be there, but is he going to be there? Also, losing stuff on the defensive side of football, how is Michigan going to be able to have a stronger back end? That secondary is very suspect. They have to be able, especially when you got a guy like these quarterbacks that are throwing for 300-plus yards in championship games, what's that secondary going to look like? Another thing that I would like to see develop when Harbaugh comes back. But it doesn't change much. I still think Michigan is a team that's going to give you 9 to 10 wins due to how long and how much Jim Harbaugh has built up the program. But still, when you think about it, how much more can Michigan get better? I mean, obviously they've gotten better to beat Ohio State, but they've always planned and had their vision of being the best in the Big Ten. Championships, I don't think, was the vision that Michigan really set in the beginning of each season. I really think that Michigan set to beat Ohio State and to beat them again. So now they have to develop that national championship identity with recruiting, but also style change. The style change that they have dominates the Big Ten, but that's just the Big Ten. The Big Ten has to adjust to them now, not Ohio State as much. Ohio State has a lot of adjusting to do now that CJ has decided to go to the league. But the Big Ten is definitely in Michigan's favor, but how can they take it to a championship level?
They can't. They can't. And to get back to what I was saying, styles make fights. Smoking Joe Frazier was, dude, Muhammad Ali is the greatest ever. He's the greatest ever. Because he can do everything. He can win fights in different ways, right? He can dominate you. He can be defensive, power, knock you out, box you for 12 rounds. He just can beat you every way. Smoking Joe Frazier just came straight forward, unorthodox, couldn't do anything. But his style was like really tricky for Muhammad Ali. Like Muhammad Ali was so used to timing people, he just never could get the timing right, right? So he ended up losing the first fight, and then they had 2 other fights that were like bloodbaths, just bloodbaths. Finally, ending in the end of the trilogy in the Thriller of Manila, where they're in the heat, going at it, and finally, Joe Frazier just quits on his stool, dude, because he's near death. It's just that's how evenly matched they were, and how difficult of a matchup he was for Muhammad Ali, right? So now Joe Frazier fights George Foreman, And George Foreman just wrecks him, bro. All that straightforward stuff against George Foreman with the length and the power he had, non-effect. Just non-effect. So everybody going to the Rumble in the Jungle thought George Foreman was going to kill Muhammad Ali. Right? You know why? Because, man, Muhammad Ali had problems with Smoking Joe.
Yeah.
He's older. There's no way he can beat George Foreman. Right? But now you're talking about a fighter that has a diverse way to be able to deal with any type of fighter. But certain fighters give him more trouble.
Yeah.
There was nothing unorthodox or strange about George Foreman. He was just all power. Just come forward. Easily can be timed because his defense was awful.
Yeah, defense is awful.
Defense was awful. And Muhammad Ali just tattooed that dude early in the fight. Made him mad. And he started swinging wild. And he just rope-a-doped him until finally in the 6th and 7th round, he knocked him out. And that's Michigan, dude. That's Michigan. That's George Foreman. There's only one way they can fight. That's it. Power, run, that's it. That's all they can do. That's all they want to do. That's Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And that's fine when they go up. That's fine when they go up against Smoking Joe Frazier, which is Ryan Day, right? Because Ryan Day refuses to be physical. He refuses. He has the talent on the offensive line. He has the talent at the running back. And he just can't get out of his own way and create a culture of tough-minded football teams that can go up and be physical. And
he want to outrun and outflank people on the edge and throw it deep.
Which is a far departure from Urban Meyer. Because Urban Meyer built his programs on physicality.
On Ezekiel Elliott.
Absolutely. Ryan Day's just soft, bro. Like Jim Harbaugh said, some people are born on third base. He was absolutely right about Ryan Day. Absolutely right. So Jim Harbaugh is probably going to dominate Ryan Day for another 2 years in the Big Ten.
But he said all them exercise bands and all that.
Yep.
We put weight on the iron and we lifted. And that's the difference between Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day. And Ryan Day gonna do all the explosion bands and body weight stretches and mental jujitsus and the new age workouts where you think strong and you are strong.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh said we're gonna lift them weights.
Man.
And in a game of football, lifting them weights, it showed on the field.
Yeah.
And that's just the difference.
Yeah.
Ryan Day would be great in the Pac-12. Get him one of them high-flying quarterbacks.
Or the Big 12 or the Pac-12.
Or the Pac-12. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Pac-12. Go out there and do a Washington State or something. And, boy, you go out there, get you a quarterback, tear it up. Y'all be throwing it all over the yard.
Yeah.
They might even change the game to 7-on-7 in the Pac-12 because there ain't no physicality anywhere.
No, nowhere.
So that's why Ryan Day won't beat Jim Harbaugh anytime soon.
And that's why Jim Harbaugh going back to Michigan doesn't mean a darn thing in the grand scheme of things in college football. Doesn't mean one thing. Michigan will do what they do against a terrible schedule every year. They'll get caught by some teams in different years. Right?
Yeah.
Other than Ohio State, who's really there, right? Because Coach Franklin and Penn State, they're just like can't get right.
Can't get right.
The dude from Life, the movie, just can't get right. Can't get right.
Penn State missing some sauce too.
Absolutely.
And they get a good, decent recruiting class every year.
There's no one that prepares Michigan for Georgia, for Alabama, for those matchups. No one in the Big Ten, right?
They just got to adjust when they get there.
Because those teams can beat you in different ways. Michigan has one way. And that one way wasn't even good enough to beat TCU. And honestly, they don't recruit well enough. They recruit well enough and recruit to the style of play that's efficient enough to win the Big Ten and beat Ohio State.
That's it.
Ryan Day's Ohio State. Because last I checked, Urban Meyer was smacking Jim Harbaugh before he left.
8 years straight because he was more physical.
That's all I'm saying. There was no one happier that Urban Meyer left than Jim Harbaugh.
Because he knew what was coming.
He changed his fortunes at Michigan. Changed his fortunes at Michigan. Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFE Nation, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown. You already know the great content we spend. Leave us 5 stars. Also, we enjoy your comments, your questions that you leave. Go to the YouTube page, Lucky Lefty Podcast. Subscribe. Smash that like button for us. And then hit the notification bell for you. So every time we post something or we go live, you'll know. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. Before we get to Notre Dame's early enrollees and the impact that they're going to have on spring and in the fall, let's chop it up about this Jaden Rashada situation. Now, Left, before we get into the saga, you are out there with Jaden Rashada. Tell us what type of young man, what type of prospect he is at the quarterback position.
He's definitely somebody that's on the what do you say, the up and coming or coming up in terms of his talent. It definitely stands out. He's got a good physical size. You can tell that he has good knowledge of the game early on. A lot of great early on aspects of what you could extrapolate and say, oh, he might be a Trevor Lawrence one day. He definitely looks like an NFL trajectory early on. But football is a lot different than basketball, especially at the quarterback position, because decision making has to be consistent and is protracted through a 4-year or a 3-year career in college, where that consistency has to play into a point where are you going to be consistent up at a pro level. So yeah, you can flash and have some talent at the high school level that gets a lot of people hype about you, but that decision making in a 3 or 4 year consistent span is what's going to count in terms of if you're ready to be an NFL player. So right now, from an NFL prototype, just physical, stature, he's got the size, he's got an arm strength, he's got some good technique to him, some good skills, a natural thrower.
Yeah.
He checks the boxes, but his on-the-field decision-making is what's going to count in the long run. And I think that's hard to extrapolate because a lot of things happen on a football team in order for the quarterback to function well, for the team to be successful. So if you got administration that's not working well with the coaching staff, or the coaching staff not working well with the individual units or the offense or defense, a talented quarterback may not look so talented with all the BS around him. So he probably saw a situation in Florida where he's like, "It's a bunch of BS." So even if I'm good, I wouldn't be able to highlight myself as much as I could with a program that's organized or that's consistently consistent with their coaching. So a lot of, as opposed to basketball, where it's really you take your skill on the road and you fit in where you can get in, and eventually if you're good, it's going to show on a level where you can advance, because basketball is everywhere. So I just think with the NIL deals, it's hard, man. You give a kid that ain't played in college a bunch of money as opposed to give a kid that played in college a bunch of money before he goes pro.
So shout out to G. Allen Taylor from The Athletic, who put together an incredible story breaking this down over the weekend. Originally, Jaden Rashada commits to Mario Cristobal, University of Miami. He stays committed to the University of Miami until the University of Florida comes in on November the 10th. Rashada and the Gator Collective agreed to terms on an NIL deal exceeding $13 million, bro.
How do you come up with a deal like that?
Bro, he's not Dante Moore. He's not Arch Manning. $13 million. Such a massive pledge is thought to dramatically exceed the Gator Collective's fundraising level. Once again, this is what's important. The massive pledge was thought to dramatically exceed the money they had in the collective. So they promised more than they had, right? December 7th, 2 weeks before signing day, Eddie Rojas, who is the head of the collective for the Florida Gators, sends a termination letter regarding the $13 million contract to Rashada, according to a program source close to the situation. There are conflicting accounts about why the deal crumbled and who pledged to pay what, but multiple conversations ensue between donors and the athletic department members, including Castro Walker, who was on the board, and Strickland, who was on the board for the Gators Collective. December 21st, National Signing Day. Billy Napier's press conference is delayed over an hour. Rashada's name was removed from the paperwork given out to the media, and then at the last minute is added. Billy Napier talks about adding him to the class and what he's going to mean, and everything seems like it's smooth. Fast forward. He goes to the Under Armour All-American game. He's chummy with the Gator commits down there, taking pictures, laughing, and then January 13th hits, which is the deadline for Florida students to enroll. He doesn't show up. And now he's back in California. This is what pay for play gets you, man. And this won't be the last one. This won't be the last one because you're going to continue to have overzealous programs going after young men that are committed to other places. And if they don't leave or decide not to go, they will eventually transfer, like we've seen with Texas A&M over the last 2 years. It's just bad for business. It's just bad for business, Left. There's nothing else to say about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate that these kids are holding some of these teams hostages. And for what? I don't think these teams owe these kids anything, especially if you haven't took a snap or threw a touchdown at all for them. But the dynamic is crazy because unfortunately you need a great quarterback in this game. And the stakes of what it takes to get these quarterbacks are getting more and more outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also tipping the scale of these guys got to be ready to play as well and be products ready made.
Yeah.
So maybe these contracts are over a 4-year period where you get a little bit up front, but it's through each year. Maybe it's depending on, you win a championship. Maybe there's a lot of stipulations I can imagine before you give a 18-year-old $13+ million.
Man, why would you even off for what? Are you that desperate?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Are you that desperate? I mean, that
Wow.
exceeding $13 million.
Now I can understand if now, looking at it from an open perspective, how our guy, I forgot the ball guy that has some good segments was saying, you donate X amount of dollars for the facility. This is just a different area that you're spending for a program that you were spending on before,
Mm-hmm.
which is getting players.
Yeah.
And I think, that all plays into developing a championship program, except they threw a new asset in, which is the players.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe the donors have a little bit more insurance on that end, but if we're thinking business, that's part of the business. You just don't like where the money's going, but you're still contributing to the success of the program by the money you spend it instead of on a hot tub that kids don't get in that often. You just give it straight to him.
Speaking of that, Coach Carl Reed, big brother to the show, he was on his 24/7 show, and this is what he had to say.
named Smokey Gaines, who used to be an assistant for Dick Vitale at the University of Detroit, told me at a hotel room in Memphis years ago, Coach, that if you pay him, you can't coach him. And now you're in a situation where this has went past what name, image, and likeness is supposed to be. You have a kid almost treating this like an NFL hold off. So now, even if you bring him in after caving to the money, it's going to be extremely hard to coach him. And coaches need to keep that in mind because you don't just have the quarterback position, you have an entire locker room of guys. What's next? A guy with 3 sacks is going to want to get paid more than a third-round pick in the NFL draft? What are we talking about here? Production has to matter at some point.
He good man. Coach Carl Reed always spitting the wisdom. Production has to matter, man. Don't
Yeah,
ask me for
production.
money and you haven't produced for this university.
Yeah, production definitely matters, but there's a fee to play as well. You know, I mean, I go to Kings Island or Cedar Point or Six Flags, I gotta pay an entry fee. Now, am I gonna get what I pay for? Maybe it's pretty subjective. You know, maybe I don't like how the drop zone or the roller coaster made me feel. Maybe I didn't even get on. Maybe I just tried the blue soft serve ice cream they got. But they're not walking into the park for free either. So I think, you know, it's a pay to play, you know, and even though it may not, the egos may be different, there's some guys that are coachable guys too. Yeah, it's going to be a little harder if you're paying him that much, but you still controlling if he's playing. I mean, I would at least have hope. But at the end of the day, I do believe that, yeah, that has some semblance. It's going to be hard to coach a kid, but that's because of the maturity level. Because if that's the case, you couldn't coach NFL players. You know, it's a respect level as well. So I think it's hard for the value of the quarterback position to be so high to where it holds you hostage in certain situations. It's unfortunate it's like that. But I do think that Georgia has provided other options to where the 5-star best quarterback in the country, you may not need to win, you know, with that. But 90% of the country, I mean, other college teams, they probably do. Georgia just found another route of doing it.
We can debate all we want to, but Coach Carl Reed is telling you, you're setting yourself up for dramatic failure if you build your program on pay to play,
Mm.
especially if you're at top programs. You're setting yourself up for failure. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the fact, as he said, that a young man that hasn't sweat, bled, or done anything to pour into the value of that program is going to walk in making more NIL money than someone that has gotten 15 sacks in back to back seasons. Oh, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. It doesn't even have to be said.
I mean, but it wasn't
It's
a
going to
problem
be a
for
problem
Bryce.
in the locker room.
They pay if Bryce. They just like I know 13 is extreme.
Hold on. Bryce
13 is
didn't
extreme.
come in starting.
No, but
Bryce
that's what I'm saying. Bryce
Bryce
was
got an opportunity. Wait a minute. Bryce got an opportunity to sweat, bleed, and put in work on the practice field for other players to see whether or not he was deserving of what he got. Once again, he was able to prove himself backing up Mac Jones. He didn't
but you're
just
not
come
proving
in.
yourself not playing in the game. Yeah, you get respect, but you're not
What?
proving yourself to
Man,
what the fuck
Patrick
you paid
Mahomes proved
for.
himself in practice his whole first year.
I'm
Everybody
saying,
knew he was a better quarterback than Alex Smith, and
but
he
they
hadn't
didn't
played him
start
down.
saying they didn't. Yeah, on the team, they
That's
didn't
what I'm
start.
saying.
They,
Everybody on the team knew.
right, but I'm saying Mac. I mean, Bryce Young was still paid for not being respected on the team, but to win games and championships and Heisman's. He didn't do that the first year, but he still got the money. You see what I'm saying? Not because he wasn't good enough. I mean,
Yeah, but you said what I'm talking about is problems in the locker room. He alleviated the problems in the locker room because he came and worked his tail off. That
well, it's
alleviates everything. If you got a dude,
Rashada can do the same thing. I think the money amount is what's different.
He can.
If Bryce Young had $13 million plus and he was sitting behind Mac
it probably would have. It probably still would have been a problem.
I think that's different than $1 million. You know, even though $1 million is a lot.
So basically,
$13 million to be the Alabama backup is a little ridiculous.
Basically, we're saying University of Florida are some idiots. That's basically what we're saying. They panicked. Billy Napier, new head coach, trying to make a splash. He panicked. He lost his quarterback to the NFL, and they panicked.
Yeah.
They panicked to get him to decommit. They offered him something that they knew they didn't have in the account. And other people that were brought in to invest, to seal the deal, they weren't feeling it. They were like, no, I don't know if we want to invest in him. Mm. And then you send this young man a termination letter. Heck yeah, I would have gone back to California too. If you can't do it, don't say it. Like, I'm fine with you just saying I can't do it. I can't do the deal. But once you tell me you can do something, be a man of your word. So University of Florida and everyone connected to the Gator Collective, shame on you. Because you didn't have to do it. You didn't have to do it. You couldn't have gotten him to decommit for $5 million. You had to go to 13. Miami isn't exactly a program that's in the best financial standing. Go do the research. The football program isn't exactly in the best financial standing. Heck, they can't even sell out. And you decided to go all the way up to 13 million? I think Nico got what, 5 reportedly at Tennessee?
Yeah, I thought it was 8.
8? Okay. They just they did the Deshaun Watson deal in the NFL, bro. 230 guaranteed.
You get guaranteed on NILs, I guess. You don't even get guarantees in the league. You get guaranteed on NILs. So.
Man, it's crazy, right? So we'll see. Notre Dame has their new director of NIL in the building. Junior day, early enrollees. I'm sure they're all having the discussions about opportunities that are there for them. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Smash that like button. We'd greatly appreciate it. Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. You already know we spin it different. Coming up next, early enrollees at Notre Dame, and the early bird gets the worm. Not just early enrollees, but Notre Dame sealing the deal early with the 24 class and going hard after kids in the 25 class. And it's January. Talk about it next. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Left. You know the saying, the early bird gets the worm. And we've compared Notre Dame and their strategy from a recruiting standpoint and how they need to get in on kids early. When they got in on Keon Keeley, he was a 3-star left. He was a 3-star. He was an unknown. They identified him. They got on him early. They got him to commit. They got Peyton Bowen to commit early in January of last year. Now they have to get better at retaining these 5 stars, these young men, as the attention comes from the vultures, I call them, of college recruiting. You know, the vultures just wait for the carcass. And then they come as scavengers and pick up. That's Alabama. That's Georgia. You know, Ohio State. They're the vultures of recruiting. They come in after you've done all the work. Build the kids up. Here comes Ohio State.
But that's how we are, though, when it comes to transfers. You know, we take.
That's a good point.
We take to
a small extent.
Yeah, because it's only a few guys we take every year. We ain't taking no 2-year. You know, maybe he's got some upside, maybe he doesn't. We're taking finished products because we know that We got guys that we developing. We got guys with years.
Mm-hmm.
We want guys that's the finishing pieces on top of what we're building over here at Notre Dame. So that's why we got a Caleb Smith. He graduated.
Mm-hmm.
He's done. He's looking to go to the league after this. He's not thinking I'm gonna stay a couple years. No, that's why he's here.
Mm-hmm.
You got our quarterback, Sam Hartman. He has no other reason other than to play one season at Notre Dame. He ain't looking to become the winningest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
We dealing with finished products. Even been our guy we just interviewed.
Thomas Harper.
Thomas Harper.
Yeah.
Finished product. He like, man, I'm it's 5th year.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing for us to know at Notre Dame is that if we bringing somebody in, he's playing right now. He's a finished product. He's happy to be here. He's looking to take that next step. So I think we've done a great job at doing that. But now we need to be, like you said, the scavengers and the vultures of college football and pick up on guys like finished products that can help us win championships or possibly change life, like a Jermaine Burton, came from Georgia and staying for a couple of years at Alabama.
So we're going to dig into that. But what I want to get started with is what these early enrollees are getting ready to walk into, Left. Like it's cool, regular, no matter, it's an emotional thing, when you drop your kid off at college, right? Specifically for the parents, right? You get your cries, you take your pictures, then you have the moment when you finally leave and drive back home and say your final goodbyes. Call me if you need anything. I'll put money in your account. Da 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 da. And then real life hits for the kid, right? The kid goes back to the room and realizes, like, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
For the first time. These young men are on their own, but they're about to meet Matt Bayless.
Their new dad.
Their new dad. Their new dad.
Their new dad.
What are these young men getting ready to walk into?
You're getting ready to walk into a situation where you're going to have to learn how to use your time management and learn how to be effective in maximizing your time spent. I think you can waste a lot of time at Notre Dame trying to do everything and not get nothing done because it has ample resources, many different routes you can take to lead you many different ways. I think in this case, when you first get in there, you need to stick to the basics. Where do I need to be on a priority list? And that's in that weight room.
Yeah.
For these 5th-year guys, getting with Bayless, setting up your schedule, and figuring out your routine is the first couple weeks. And finding the good food places on campus. Go to Grace Hall.
Kenny Minchie is the quarterback of this class. I would venture to say physically, he has preparation to put in, weightlifting, but there's another preparation that he has to go through that no one else that's enrolling early has to deal with. Talk about that coming from that perspective as a quarterback that went through the same thing.
Man, coming in, I was just so excited. I think just being able to ingratiate myself with the team, fill out kind of what my role would be, how to become a good teammate and a quarterback in the quarterback room. The quarterback in the quarterback room is like how when all the Justice League members meet up and you're the new superhero to the game, you got to have respect for the guys in the room. And it's a learning process. Have your ears open all the time. A lot of it is just about, okay, what's the swing of things? And then as a quarterback, once you get the chemistry of what's going on, that's when you start diving into how do I start breaking down my leadership roles of how do I learn the offense? How do I help
Man, the left freeze, man, he was in the middle of talking about Kenny Minchie and giving us great information. Lucky Lefty podcast. But yeah, the early enrollees, Notre Dame, Kenny Minchie has a different path, man. Different path. Playbook, ingratiating himself as a leader, being respected not only by the offensive players but the defensive players. It's a totally different task left, and he froze there a little bit. But you were just talking about the different tasks that are facing Kenny Minchie.
Yeah, and the biggest task is find time to learn the playbook, finding time to learn to find time, find time to break away from everybody and just start watching film. Just start looking at your playbook, looking at the basic plays, looking at the structure of the huddle, talking to Tommy, calling Tom, be like, hey, what's this? What's that? Because that's going to help you start getting the train rolling of how
Mhm.
you start becoming a starter
Yeah,
by knowing your job, getting in before spring ball. Because everybody else, if you're not a quarterback, you're just trying to, make sure you stay on lifting, you're eating right,
yeah.
get your classes right, clean your sheets every 3 or 4 weeks. You focus on that. You got the same thing,
If you
right?
cleaning
As a
your sheets every
quarterback,
3 4 weeks, then you real chill on
you
college campus.
real chill
You real chill.
for real. But as a quarterback, it's the same thing, but you got to find time to get in that playbook. Got to find time to watch that, start watching that film, watching practice, being in love with the process because it's going to be a long one. Because you're going to go into spring and feel like you put in work, and you're going to feel like you're the worst one. Like, what the hell?
Mm.
Because it takes a little bit more. It takes a little bit more preparation, a little bit more. Because I'm pretty sure guys in the quarterback room, because it's competitive and where it's at, they're not gonna tell you everything now. And knowing Tyler Buckner, I feel like he probably not gonna talk much to you anyway. So you gotta find ways to observe and then take a little bit from everybody and grow. Sam Hartman will be great in the room for Kenny Minchie. Guy that's been there, done that. Plus, a guy coming in once been there, done that as well.
So who would be your best friend? Who do you think Kenny Minchie would gravitate to first? Will it be the guys he came in with, or do you think he'll branch out? Will it be the offensive linemen? Will it be the wide receivers?
It should be his roommate because in the first couple of weeks, y'all need to work together on how y'all gonna get to class and what y'all eating and how y'all gonna meet up, to stay, together to get to practice stuff. So the first one is your roommate. After that, you can branch off into position rooms. I don't really know too much of the personality of the kid, but you'll find your guy in the locker room. Where it's like, okay, what's up, man? You got the same class schedule? Okay, you like pizza up before class like me? All right, cool, let's go. It kind of works out that way. And it happens fast, man. It's a fun, super fun experience, man. I just think you should enjoy every step of it.
Lucky Lefty podcast. So here's the list of early enrollees that reported over the weekend. Quarterback Kenny Minchie, wide receiver Braylon James, wide receiver Jaden Greathouse, wide receiver Rico Flores, offensive lineman Sam Pendleton, defensive lineman Devon Houston, linebacker Preston Zinter, linebacker Drake Bowen, linebacker Jaden Osbury, cornerback Christian Gray, safety Adon Schuler, and safety Ben Minich. Oh man, 13 guys getting ready to meet Matt Balis for the first time, their new dad, on the Notre Dame campus and going through the adjustment to college life. When you show up, the vibe is it's all football as an early enrollee because the students aren't there yet, right? So now you have a few days where it's just you and the guys, and then the students come back. Is there a shock to the system, like adjusting to the students being on campus? And trying to ingratiate yourself, whether it's in class or just walking around campus, because no one really knows you yet.
Man, I was so excited when the students came on campus because I was the youngest guy there, but also just excited to see what you anticipate and what you believe college is like
Mhm.
going into it. You 17 on the campus with 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, sometimes 24, 25-year-olds.
Facts.
And you're like, man, this is a world within a world. Like, I ain't no going home,
Yeah.
you know, and I kind of burned the boat. So, hey, somebody in my class I might be friends with, you never know. So there was an excitement for me to be reaching out to people. I remember when my first day, I went to the cafeteria. I sat with people I didn't even know.
That's dope. That's dope.
Me and my roommate sat people I didn't even know and just started, talking. And then it's funny that your first day you don't have like in high school, you have a bail. Ain't no bail in college.
Yeah.
So we'll be all sitting here next, everybody gets up, starts going all the time. Now, where everybody going? Oh, I got class, I got this, I got that. And that was so exciting for me because I'm like, shoot, where I'm supposed to be at. So I'm running around campus like nobody's telling you where to go. So I'm asking people, hey, where the building is this and that. And so, man, and that's what they don't talk about. Obviously you want to get into football and lifting and everything, but that's your first experience is after you lift. Because you're going to lift first thing in the morning, and then you're going to go to class right after. So the lifting's cool. You get okay, this the routine, waking up early, get my little breakfast before I leave or whatever, And so it's going to be fun for those guys going in, but, it gets real about week 2 or 3.
Week 2 or 3. Wait a minute. What makes it real? Because school
It gets
gets real,
cold.
or
It gets cold as hell.
Yeah.
And now it gets cold. Now you got mental stresses. Man, they gave me a whole book to read before Friday, and it's Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
What kind of homework is that?
That's
I
bananas.
got a project in 2 weeks. We just started, and then I got what's a Valentine's Day workout where we got to get up at 3 a.m. What is that?
Just showing you some love. Just showing you some love, Left.
And then it's like after the first 2 weeks, you're like, man, I am tired. This is for real, huh? You that's 6 a.m. every day. It's like, I can't wait till the weekend come. And then your first weekend is great. You start realizing that everybody got their own thing going on. It ain't like, weekends you just sit at home, watch TV. It's like weekends, a lot of stuff's happening. Then you start getting closer to your teammates.
Yeah.
I remember the first time we had some downtime or started getting more into the weekends. Your first test in the locker room is your wardrobe. How you coming? Notre Dame's different because you from everywhere.
Cats coming in bow ties to take a test.
Yeah, so it's like how you dressing. Like, your first time going out with your teammates is a huge thing. It's like your initiation. It's like,
man.
Are you fresh as hell? Like, what you rocking? Because you can definitely get grilled for it your first time. 18 years old, you don't know what to wear, going this and that, and then your teammates that are older that's been there, like, man, what you got on? So that's always a good test on a team side of where you stand early on is your fit going out for the first time.
So when you come to Notre Dame, and not being a player, but just being a student, I think I have an analogy that kind of fits. Like, because you're walking into Notre Dame and you're looking around, and now you're no longer the best player on your team. Now you're amongst the best of the best. Right?
You're amongst the best of the best.
Yes, yes. So me, I came from Morgan Park, bro. Right? One of the best academic schools at that time. I don't know what the rank is now, but at that time, it was one of the best academic schools in the city. Definitely was one of the best producers of beautiful, intelligent women in the city. But when I got to U of I, it was totally different. Like, I remember my first party at U of I, bro. And I had never seen the best of the best like I was seeing it. And I was comfortable at Morgan Park dealing with, it being, full of intelligent, beautiful women. When I got to U of I, just for a second, it was just a little bit intimidating.
It definitely
Because
is.
the pond was a little bit bigger, bro. The
Yeah,
pond, right? And it's the best of the best. I had figured out the Morgan Park Lake. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But now,
Pond. Look,
the Morgan Park Pond, right? But now I'm in a Champagne Lake. That's a little bit different. It's a
Yeah,
little bit different.
it's different when nobody knows you.
Yeah.
Nobody when nobody knows you and you go into an environment where they know each other more than they know you at least.
Facts.
It's just a little different because you like, I gotta step in the right way. I gotta because obviously the football gonna catch up. But them first couple months, nobody you a
See,
student.
that's what I'm saying. I was doubting myself for the first time, bro. I was doubting my game for the first time. That's what it's like for these young men. Like for the first time, they might go through some situations where they begin to doubt themselves athletically for the first time.
Man, that first couple practices, yeah, you're gonna be like, they recruited me. Because these dudes is some hounds. You got some hounds around here. And so all it takes though, that it's the first hitting practice.
Man.
And it's like, okay, the dude that you've been seeing flying around, you like, all right, what's this dude look like in pass? Because I'm,
Yeah.
And then you get that first contact, or you mess around, make a miss. Now you're like, okay, I can adjust. But them first couple hits in practice, boom, bam, woo, that's hot. That's college football. Good grief.
Yeah.
And then, but that's why I said when you're prepared, it starts slowing down. Okay, it just happens a little faster. So you anticipate a little bit more.
Yeah. See, the classroom for me was a smooth transition.
Right.
It was a smooth transition.
Was the style of classroom different for you and how they, ran it and how it's still more open and more responsible?
No, because I was in an advanced program. I got to Morgan Park in 7th grade. So I was at Morgan Park for 6 years, but I was taking classes with high schoolers in 7th grade. So by the time I was a sophomore, I felt like a senior in the system, right? And I had already, so we always went on a different schedule than the rest of the school. Right. So I was used to fast pace, having to make sure you listen, being responsible for, assignments, not really having someone to really hold your hand. So when I went to having a professor, basically doing the class, and then I have to have time to go meet a TA in their office if I had a question. That was familiar for me. It didn't take me long to adjust. Like sitting in Follinger Auditorium for an economics class with 3,000 students, and I'm in the balcony because I was like 5 minutes late. And my man is just standing there like, dude, this professor isn't even going to know my name. He's not even going to know my name.
Yeah,
but I still have to lock in. I have to lock in, and I need to get to know this TA. Like, forget him. I need to rock out with this TA, right? And some of these young men, like, they're definitely going to see Matt Bayless and their position coaches a lot more than they're going to see Marcus Freeman.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? So they got to lock in. They got to lock in.
They ain't recruiting no more. Marcus Freeman ain't going to be eating dinner with you now.
Absolutely.
Maybe at training table.
Maybe at training table.
He ain't going to sit in your dorm and eat pizza late at night and talk about your day.
Absolutely. Right? So now you got to lock in.
He at home.
You got to lock in. He's at home after a long day, with a nightcap of Onora whiskey. That's what he does.
That's right.
So, look, I can relate, bro. Maybe not on the athletic scale, but like there are similarities in college, for every student that's there, that the experience it's real. It's absolutely real. And depending upon where you go, you might have certain things to try to pull your attention away. Because I'm sure, hey, look here, man. I've walked the campus. I couldn't play football at USC, bro. Not me. I can't even imagine what it was like for Reggie Bush, Lindell White, Matt Leinart, and these dudes talking about they going around town getting into clubs, or what it was like back in the '80s for the Miami squad that was like kicking it with Luke, getting into clubs. Like I can't even imagine, bro. Like the closest you all get to something like that is having to drive an hour and a half to Chicago on the weekend.
Rush on Tavern's great. The scene is great downtown.
Oh, you know about Rush on Tavern? Oh, okay, okay, my dude. All
Yes,
right,
yes.
okay,
So it's
okay.
definitely some spots in Chicago. You just tip right on down the street, catch a couple
Hmm.
basketball games or whatever. It's always something going on. If you want to
Yeah.
go to the Philharmonic,
Mm. Okay. You talking
whatever.
like you've been here before. You talking like you've been here before. You talking like you've
Yeah,
been here before.
no
All right.
doubt.
Lucky Lefty podcast. Notre Dame is closing in on, in my opinion, in the next 3 weeks or so, probably 4 to 5 commits. And we talked about how they needed to jump out early on young men. What this staff is doing and the success of the junior day cannot be understated. And I think they already have 7 in the class. If things go the way I believe they're going to go, Notre Dame is going to leave the month of January with 11 commits in 2024. They had a 25 receiver, Dorian Brew, from Ohio at the junior day. Dylan McCullough just offered another 25 running back last night. This staff is already zeroing in on big time recruits that they want in 2025. Like, dude, this is how locked in they are, bro. They could leave January with 11 commits in the class.
Mm.
That's half the class because I think the class is going to be probably 22 to 23 kids. They'll be
That's good.
50% done with the class going into February. And they haven't even gotten to the spring visits where kids come in March to watch practice, blue and gold game. And I think they're going to have an avalanche of commitments once again from May through July, like they did last year. Hey, tip your cap, stand up, show some love, round of applause, however you want to do it. What Marcus Freeman and this staff are doing with Chad Bowden at the head as the ambassador, it's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. You know why? 2023 and the way it went at the end did not deter them one bit.
No,
They didn't hang their heads about Keon Keeley. They didn't hang their heads about Peyton Bourne.
no.
They went even harder coming into this year. You have to love it. Absolutely have to love the way they're attacking recruiting.
You definitely love it. And I think what's most important too is that it's building the confidence in the program that we're still continuing to reach to get better year to year. We're not just satisfied with a hot class in 23 and then take off a couple classes and
Yeah.
depend heavy on the 23 class to win us a championship. Every class that's come in is thinking they're going to be the team to win it. That type of inspiration and that type of team is what's going to carry us through, I think, especially through to the end.
Justin Scott on the 31st. I think there's about 3 or 4 other guys that were at junior day that will eventually make their commitments known. We don't want to step on their opportunity and their moment. So we'll let that play out. But once again, Notre Dame more than likely is going to be halfway done with their class going into the month of February. And if some of those commitments carry into February, It's still left up to those young men to decide when they want to make the commitment. But just let it be known.
Let it be known.
This staff is not deterred at all. At all. And they're already focused on 25, which in my opinion lets me know that they have a really condensed and concise list for 24. Like they're going after this small group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it might be 50 to 60 kids left. And as always, they'll continue to watch film, continue to visit coaches like they continue to do over the weekend, high school programs, find out about kids, add kids to the list. But right now, they're pretty much showing you, look, we have 50 to 60 kids. This is who we like.
Yeah.
This is who we're going after. We're going after the best of the best. And that's it. You have to love that.
Love it. And cream of the crop is what we're looking for. We had cream of the crop program, and we're just looking to stay on beat with that. And I think a lot of it too is we aren't dependent on our laurels of just being Notre Dame. We're actually using it and attacking recruiting as if we're Notre Dame. So it's a difference in just saying we're using the title and then being about it and showing it in recruiting.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. Shout out to everybody that joined us today. Great things going on. Early enrollees, the challenges facing them. Who do you expect out of those early enrollees to make the biggest impact or the quickest impact?
Hopefully it's somebody offensively. That's what I'm hoping for.
One of the wide receivers?
One of the maybe Rico Flores get in there. I still want to see Tobias get in there. I feel like he's still a rookie. But I really can't tell because I don't know how they're going to fit them into what they're doing. Tommy has an interesting process of freshman anyway. So maybe we'll see how he goes about it. But more so than anything, I just want to see them all make an impact in some way.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think one of the wide receivers, I think it's either the wide receivers or the linebackers, right? Because you got all three of your linebackers coming in, and you have three of your four wide receivers coming in. So I'm going to put my money on Jaden Greathouse. Say he makes an impact early and really stands out.
He
Lucky
definitely
Lefty
looks the most physically ready to plug and play.
That's true. Yep. You know what time it is.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, pettiest stories of the day brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com, that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. Tom Brady is on the petty train. Come on, man. I know it was bad. It didn't go the way you wanted to go, but you can't be on the field trying to trip people, man.
It's just a slide tackle, man.
Come on, dog. This is not FIFA. This is not the World. This is not the World Cup. It was a little frustration. I understand that.
And that's not even what tackled the guy.
No, it wasn't, but he still attempted. He still made the attempt to kick. Doesn't matter. The intent was there. I got to put him on the petty train, left. I got to put him on the petty train. I just have to, right? This player, this basketball player from Alabama, you're an idiot, bro. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And then they carry you out yesterday, and you got the nerve to be crying after you just blatantly took someone's life? You're an idiot.
Idiot. Why they get the other dude? Is it? I thought the basketball players won that shot.
But if I'm not mistaken, from reading a couple of the stories, it was they both exchanged gunfire. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, they were shooting at each other.
Yeah.
And he hit the girl.
Yes. So I'm going to keep my ears to the ground and look for more updates. But yeah, that whole situation is just it's dumb. It's dumb. I and it's unfortunate because I hate hearing about stuff like that. How you just pull up on somebody and commence the shooting? It's one of the dumbest things man.
It's that dang rap music.
Left, look, man. But then he's crying though as they take him out to send him to the pen.
Because the song wasn't playing.
Jason Hewlett, thank you for the super chat. Best indie podcast, period. Luck for OC. I'm just saying. Thank you, my brother. Brandon Plinser. SD, who was the talented 25 quarterback you alluded to? I actually answered this on the board. I didn't allude to one player. I said the quarterback class in 2025 is going to be one of the best classes in the state of Illinois. I didn't allude to any one in particular. But Left out to man, I want you to check out his film as a kid named Ethan Plum in Illinois. This is like the person I hear talked about the most. It's like 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the 25 class. Most people are saying like, yo, this is the best crop of quarterbacks to come out of Illinois in a
Since
long
Tommy's
time.
year?
No, since J.J. McCarthy's year probably. Because I think J.J. McCarthy's year, you had a guy go to Northwestern, and you had another kid go somewhere in the Big Ten, and you had J.J. McCarthy go to Michigan. So his year, he had like 3. This year, they're talking like 4 or 5 guys that could be Power 5 quarterbacks. But Ethan Plum is the one I hear talked about a lot. And if you watch, I'm going to send you his film, Left. If you watch his film, he is advanced because of the offense they put him in. Don't tell me coaching doesn't matter on the high school level.
No, coaching matters a lot on the high school level.
When you see what they ask him to do on the high school level, you already know he's going to be advanced.
Yeah.
When he gets to college, because of the way they ask him to do certain things. I was impressed more by what he was running. I was impressed by him because it was only his sophomore film. He's a 25 kid. So I'm watching a sophomore quarterback that's going to get bigger and stronger. He's already like 6'3", 6'4", 200, something like that.
Oh, okay. So he got the size.
Yeah, he's already a big kid. So, and he already has an effortless arm. But he's a sophomore. So you can just project in 2 more years. But I'm going to send you his film because I'm like, yo, this is some pro type stuff that they ask him to do and throws that they ask him to make. That was the most impressive thing to me. Jason Hewlett, if I see Matt Salerno on the field for any reason at all, I'm shooting my TV with the Mossberg. I'm just saying, another reason Luck should be OC. Luck don't have trust issues. That's a Tommy thing. I'm just saying.
Nah, I ain't got no trust issues when you're recruiting the players. Come on, man.
Jason Hewlett, thank you for the super chat. Luck, did you play in Under Armour cleats? If so, how would you rate their performance versus other brands?
Man, during that time, it was 2015 and Cam Newton was blowing up and he had them Superman cleats and we thought they gave us more powers. They were hard. They were hard. I liked them.
The Superman cleats.
Yeah, where he was doing the little dab and all that. That was 2015 now.
Yeah. Oh, man, Lucky Lefty podcast. So, man, we'll see you guys tomorrow for another great episode. Like we said, we're waiting to hear back from DQ to see when he can jump on. And we're going to hop into some draft talk pretty soon and get some feedback on the Notre Dame players for some draft gurus and let you guys know what to expect from the guys as they go into the Senior Bowl and then matriculate on into the NFL. All right, Lucky Lefty podcast. I know one thing. We got another weekend of dominant Notre Dame offensive linemen in the playoffs. I know that. I know that. That Dallas, San Francisco, that's all I'm going to talk the entire game. Like, my
That's just
God.
Notre Dame versus Notre Dame.
I'm like, good grief, this offensive line play is good in this game. What school did they go to?
That's right.
Who was their coach?
That's right. Here, he still don't know. Going to have a split jersey. He don't know who to celebrate.
Yeah. Dude, Harry should wear a Dallas San Francisco split jersey. That'd be dope if they took a picture of him in his office doing that over the weekend.
I'm
That would
telling
be
you,
great promo.
they owe Harry. He stand a lot, man. What a great opportunity it was for me to even be around it. So.
Yeah. We'll see you guys tomorrow for another edition of the Lucky Lefty podcast. Have a great Tuesday, but most of all, you got to make sure that you spin it different.